Good day and welcome to the news roundup for Wednesday, February 8. I am Abigail Smythe. Among the stories in this evening's newscast, police constable charged with forcible abduction and rape following incident in St. Elizabeth. Police High Command reports reduction in major crimes for the month of January. Police issue nearly $35 million in tickets since the new Road Traffic Act took effect on February 1. Ministry of Education partners with Ministry of Justice to use restorative justice practices in schools. In business, more young people starting businesses and taking on leadership roles in various industries. In the region, CARICOM countries achieve 57% of the target to reduce the $5 billion regional food import bill. Further overseas, the death toll from earthquake that hit Turkey and Syria passes 11,000. And in sports, national under-17 footballers beat their Trinidad and Tobago counterparts in CONCACAF friendly.
Teach them! Always make sure the message reach them!
Now for the news in detail. One of Jamaica's most wanted men, Nesta Bigger Crime Morrison of 11 Miles Bull Bay in St. Thomas, is dead. His death was confirmed by Deputy Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, Fitz Bailey.
I wish to confirm to the Jamaican people that Nesta Morrison, OC Bigger Crime of 11 Miles Bull Bay, which is the border of St. Thomas, was fatally shot during an intelligence-led operation by the security forces in Longville Park, Clarendon. Bigger Crime has been on the police most wanted list for over 2 years, and despite many requests from the police for him to turn himself in, he actually did not, and several operations were mounted against him that were unsuccessful. Bigger Crime rained terror on the citizens within the 11 Mile Bull Bay areas and its environment, killing and maiming several people.
The Deputy Commissioner says his death comes as a relief for residents.
I think it's a victory for the people of those communities, and it's a great relief that he can no longer perpetrate those acts of violence against them.
The police have issued e-tickets amounting to nearly $35 million since the new Road Traffic Act took effect on February 1. The constabulary has revealed that for the first 6 days of February, the police issued 5,533 such tickets. Of that amount, 401 have already been paid. Speaking at the JCF's recent media briefing, the police commissioner disclosed that the police have increased the number of e-ticket devices and added that there was a 60% increase in the number of traffic tickets issued last year over 2021. Major General Anthony Anderson said additional public order enforcement tools such as decibel and tint meters will soon be rolled out by the police.
You may or may not be aware that we also have additional public order enforcement tools coming on stream in the form of decibel and tint meters. Noise has been a source of nuisance to a number of persons, whether from motor vehicles, motorcycles, or entertainment. There are people who operate without due consideration for the wider public. The decibel meter will be used by our public order and traffic teams to better regulate noise levels. We recently received 40 of these meters and will gradually increase the number over time in an effort to increase our capacity to address this issue.
Transport operators have welcomed the move by the government to change regulations of the new Road Traffic Act that are deemed impractical. Operators in the public transport sector had bashed the government, saying the requirement for bus and taxi operators to install child restraint systems to transport children under 12 was impractical. Speaking in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, Transport Minister Audley Shaw announced that the government will be amending the child restraint regulations. Minister Shaw says the amendment will allow small children to be restrained by adults, providing they are riding in the back of a motor vehicle. President of Transport Operators Development Sustainable Services, Edgerton Newman, has welcomed the changes. Director of Communications of the One Voice Taxi Association, Oscar Finnekin, has also welcomed the announced changes. However, he says his members, some of whom have withdrawn their services since since Monday to protest at the refusal by the government to offer taxi operators another chance to clear up outstanding traffic tickets will continue their protest action. The Ministry of Education and Youth has partnered with the Ministry of Justice to use restorative justice practices in the school system. Restorative justice seeks to repair the harm caused by an offense and helps to reintegrate the offender into the community. Minister of Justice Delroy Chuck says last year over 200 schools were introduced to restorative justice practices, and they are increasing that number this year. He believes restorative justice can play a major role in the lives of children in schools.
The Ministry of Justice is extremely pleased and happy to work with the Ministry of Education. Last year we did 232 schools, introducing the schools to restorative justice practices. And as Minister says, this calendar year we want to do 500. And then the next one we do the remaining schools, and then we start repeating. The Ministry of Justice thinks that restorative justice can play an important part in the lives of children in the schools.
Minister Chuck says they are also working to sensitize the congregation of 3,000 churches. In the meantime, Minister of Education Favor Williams says restorative justice has its benefits. She wants all Jamaicans to be involved in the practice.
The benefit of that is it reduces reprisals. It reduces the likelihood that the person who was hurt, it reduces the likelihood that that person is going to want to exact justice again on that person who did them the wrong or somebody else. We know that in Jamaica a lot of retribution happens, and we want all Jamaicans to be involved in restorative justice.
The Education Ministry says students who engage in violent confrontation are to be subject to restorative justice seminars as part of their suspension from schools. The Police High Command is reporting a reduction in major crimes for the month of January when compared with the corresponding period last year. Major crimes were down by 31% when compared to the same period in 2022. Murders were down by 34%. Police Commissioner Major General Anthony Anderson says gang-related activity accounted for 65% of the murders, while interpersonal conflicts accounted for 22%. 3% of murders occurred in the furtherance of other criminal acts, and 10% are still being determined. Shootings have also registered a decline, going down by 26% when compared to last January. Rape, robberies, and break-ins declined by 47%, 44%, and 7% respectively.
Even as we deal with the issue of public order, we continue to relentlessly pursue the criminal networks, gangsters, and gunmen who are responsible for the murders, the shootings, and other serious crimes committed in our country. It is not lost on us that every tool that can be used should be used to save lives. Those criminals involved in the illegal firearms trade continue to be a key area of focus for us from an intelligence, investigative, and also an operational perspective. The illegal firearm continues to be the weapon of choice for the commission of murders, featuring in upwards of 85% of murders and in other violent crimes. Since the new Firearms Act came into effect on November the 1st, 2022, just about 348 charges have been laid against 187 persons for various offenses. This year, for January, 131 charges have been laid against 75 persons under this act. Of note is the fact that we have been applying the new offenses, including distribution, stockpiling, and trafficking, and we await the outcome of the cases now before the courts.
A taxi operator was shot and killed and his car stolen Tuesday night in Oterea, St. Anne. He is 62-year-old Kenrick Mignot of Warwick Mount, Great Pond in the parish. The police say about 8:45 p.m. Mr. Mignot was operating his grey Toyota Probox motor car along Front Street in Great Pond when men posing as passengers boarded his vehicle. They attempted to rob the taxi operator of his motor car, but when he resisted, he was shot in the abdomen. Mignot was forced from the car and again shot by the men. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The men escaped in the stolen vehicle, which was tracked and recovered in Monique this morning. And still in St. Anne, around 2:30 a.m., 20-year-old Kimani Letman of Stairtown was shot and killed when gunmen invaded his home. The police were summoned and Letman was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. The police are investigating both incidents. Two men are now in hospital nursing gunshot wounds following a shooting incident on Bryce Hill Road in August Town Tuesday night. Two firearms and several rounds of ammunition were seized. Reports are that about 9:40 p.m., residents heard explosions and summoned the police. Upon their arrival, one man was seen with gunshot wounds and a magazine containing 13 9mm cartridges found beside him. Investigations led the police to search the premises, and one Taurus 9mm pistol, one Beretta 9mm pistol, and 3 additional 9mm cartridges were found on a roof. The injured man was taken to hospital for treatment. Another man later turned up at hospital with gunshot wounds, reporting that he was injured in the same area. Both are being treated under police guard while detectives probe the incident. And the St. Elizabeth police are investigating the murder of a man in Santa Cruz on Tuesday. The deceased has been identified as 28-year-old Devar Garwood, otherwise called Bull, of Institution Drive in Santa Cruz. The police say Garwood had picked up 3 students at Park Mountain Primary School, and upon leaving the school, a black Toyota motor car pulled up alongside the vehicle and opened fire on him. The children, who were not injured in the attack, ran from the vehicle and hid until they were later found by residents who took them to the Santa Cruz police station. Another man reported that his vehicle had been hit by a stray bullet during the incident but was unharmed. One of 4 policemen accused of raping and robbing a female motorist in St. Elizabeth last week has been charged. The 22-year-old constable, Alwyn Hill, has been charged with rape, grievous sexual assault, forcible abduction, corruptly soliciting, and simple larceny, an act he allegedly committed whilst on duty. The constable was charged following a ruling by the Director of Public Prosecutions. It was reported that the 4 policemen who are attached to the St. Elizabeth Police Division were taken into custody last week after a female motorist alleged that she was robbed, sexually assaulted, and threatened by the policemen following a traffic stop last Monday night. Reports say the woman was stopped and a breach of the Road Traffic Act detected. Hill allegedly solicited money in exchange for not prosecuting the woman. She was taken to an automated teller machine ATM and was subsequently sexually assaulted. The woman made a report and the police immediately launched an investigation. The case file was prepared and submitted to the Director of Public Prosecution, who recommended that Hill be charged. The other 3 officers were subsequently released. A policeman who is charged in connection with the multi-million-dollar robbery of a truck carrying cooking oil was granted bail when he appeared in court on Tuesday. The Detective Corporal Maurice Whittingham was granted bail in the sum of $750,000. The bail application was made by attorney at law Lindell Leslie before Parish Judge Nicole Kellier in the St. Catherine Parish Court. As part of his bail, Whittingham, who was attached to the National Intelligence Bureau, was ordered to report to the Olympic Gardens police station on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays, and to surrender his travel documents. A curfew order was also imposed, and the policeman was also ordered not to interfere with witnesses in the case. He is to return to court on March 10. Allegations are that on Saturday, December 17, 2022, Whittingham and his co-accused, Michael Daly, who was reportedly dressed in police paraphernalia, stopped a delivery truck along the Spanish Town bypass in St. Catherine. The truck, which is owned by Seprod Limited, was laden with cooking oil valued at more than $3 million. It is alleged that Whittingham approached the driver of the truck and asked about his data entry record and took him to a Honda motor car. The truck, along with the sidemen, was then driven to an unknown location. The truck was later located in the community of Thetford, which is located near Old Harbour. A subsequent report was made and an investigation was launched, which resulted in the arrests of Whittingham and Daly. Further investigation led to them being charged with robbery with aggravation and kidnapping. In business, the Heart NSTA Trust says youth participation in the workforce has increased, with more young people starting their own businesses and taking on leadership roles in various industries. The National Training Agency's Managing Director, Dr. Tanisha Ingleton, says the agency has provided grant funding for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises of up to $1 million. Trainees can also access up to $300,000 to start their own business. In the region, Caribbean community, CARICOM countries, have been able to achieve 57% of the target to reduce the $5 billion regional food import bill by 25% by 2025. A statement issued following the first CARICOM Ministerial Task Force on Food Production and Food Security, where Caribbean countries detailed their production data for 2022, notes that products such as cocoa, dairy, meat, root crops, fruits, and poultry have already reached 96.13%, 84.36%, 72.28%, 70.91%, 70.77%, and 70.19% respectively for the targeted production volume set for the year 2025. The statement notes that countries such as Guyana, Belize, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Suriname, Dominica and Jamaica have made significant advances in the production of commodities such as ginger, turmeric, corn, soybean, root crops, fruits, cocoa, poultry, meat, fish, table eggs, and dairy. Guyana's Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa noted that these are great achievements for the task force, explaining that with these mechanisms in place, a level playing field is being created, making way for easier trade in agricultural products intra-regionally. On the international scene, the death toll from the earthquake that hit Turkey and Syria has passed 11,000. With hope fading to find survivors, stretched rescue teams toiled on Wednesday in search of signs of life in the rubble of thousands of buildings toppled by the catastrophic earthquake. The quake is the deadliest worldwide in more than a decade. Search teams from more than 24 countries have joined tens of thousands of local emergency personnel, and aid pledges have poured in from around the world. But the scale of destruction from the 7.8 magnitude quake and its powerful aftershocks was so immense and spread so wide, including in areas isolated by Syria's ongoing war, that many are still waiting for help. The region sits on top of major fault lines and is frequently shaken by earthquakes. Some 18,000 people were killed in similarly powerful earthquakes that hit northwest Turkey in 1999. And in sports, just like their game on Saturday, the national under-17 footballers beat their Trinidad and Tobago counterparts 1-0 at Stets in their friendly match on Tuesday. The goal was scored in the 5th minute. The two teams are preparing for the CONCACAF Under-17 Championship to be held in Guatemala from February 11 to 26. Jamaica will contest Group G at the championship alongside Costa Rica, Cuba, and Guadeloupe. The semi-finalists will qualify for the FIFA Under-17 World Cup that takes place in Peru from November 10 to December 2. And that's it for your news roundup for today. I'm Abigail Smythe. Have a good evening and see you next time.
Teach them! Hey, yo, hello! Send the message and make it reach them. It's teach them. Right here. Warlord representing.
Thank you for watching. Like the video before you go. Please subscribe if you haven't done so. And remember to share the video with your friends and family. And browse the channel for more quality content. Until next time, walk good, my friends.
Teach them!